So if you want to introduce yourself, if anyone's even going to be listening, so I don't know, might as well introduce you.
Oh, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be the first. Honored to know you. My name is Dave Stark. Originally from Nashville, Tennessee. Been in Hamilton now for 8 years.
First off, I just want to thank you for doing this because, this is the first episode, so it takes a little bit of bravery on your behalf to even sit down and let me talk with you. We don't even have a name for this yet, but overall, I just want to have, talks with people locally, highlight people that are doing good things. So you made the list, and you hooked me up with the videographer, so you had to.
And I currently have 2 different roles within the city. One, I work for the city, specifically the Department of Neighborhoods, and I get to provide support to the Hamilton residents movement called 17 Strong.
All right.
I was a volunteer with those guys for many years before, and a position opened up that is doing a lot of what I was already doing as a volunteer. I just got to do some of the more boring paperwork parts now, but still actively involved in that movement of Hamilton residents.
All right. And what brought you to Hamilton?
I've been in Hamilton for 8 years. Originally, my sister, Sarah Valaningham, she had a shop location in Bridgewater Falls, and she was one of the early folks who got the call to be involved in Hamilton's revitalization. Through the CORE program, she purchased a building on High Street that became the retail location for Sarah's House, Home Decor and Gifts.
All right, give her a shout out.
Her family then lives upstairs in a building from 1871. So my first real experience in Hamilton was chipping away at old wallpaper to expose bricks, and I went through layers and layers of Hamilton history all the way back 130 something years.
Sounds like fun. I got an old house myself, so I know that's a lot of work. My wife would probably say I don't do it myself, but just watching it be done sometimes pretty difficult. A lot of thick walls and paint and wallpaper. How long did it take for them to fix it up?
Oh, all those projects are always about twice as long as you anticipate. I thought, man, I'll be back on the beach in San Diego within about 6 months. It ended up being about 1.5 years before we were completed with the project. And during that time is when I discovered the real Hamilton. In 1.5 years, you get a chance to go to Operation Pumpkin.
Yeah.
You get to hear rumors of things like municipal brew works going into the old city building. The energy that still exists, that draw, that excitement that still woos people to Hamilton today was in full force when I was here. And so by the end of that project, I had made enough connections and saw that, a kid from Nashville who had been on the beach for 6 months after 4 years in England might somehow have a home here in this town. So I was here for working on that project for about 1.5 years. And then shortly thereafter, I moved into Art Space Hamilton Lofts. And within about 2 months of moving in as a resident artist, as a published writer, an opportunity opened up for me to become the manager of this building. And so I've now been in that role right at 5 years now.
All right. So I want to go back to you a guy from Nashville who's on the beach, and that sounds nice being on the beach. A lot of people, like to be there, but you ended up coming to Hamilton to do kind of help your sister out, and you end up building a home for yourself here.
Yeah.
And I've lived here my whole life, so, and I've always loved Hamilton. It's definitely gotten better though, kind of when you came, it was starting to take off. And, but when I was younger, a lot of people tried to get out of Hamilton, I'd try to get to the beach in San Diego. It would sound nice when I was 18, but now, I'm digging my roots in even deeper, and a lot of people are. And it's really cool to hear from someone that wasn't from here originally, kind of coming in and getting involved. And you're involved in a lot of things. So, you got 2 jobs here, 17 strong. Mm-hmm. Talk more about that, exactly what it is. I know it's the 17 neighborhoods, and I've lived here my whole life. I don't think I can name them all, embarrassingly, or it's not going to be the proper name for it, what I grew up hearing about.
Well, the one you're in, right? You're in Dayton Lane, right?
Yeah,
Dayton Lane. You know that one.
Yeah,
well, that's good.
I know a lot of them, but I don't know that I can name 17 of them off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Can you?
Oh, where's that book? Where's that book? All right. So 17 Strong officially has been around since, I believe, 2016, but the roots of 17 Strong had existed for going on about 12 years now with the original committee for the Sense of Place. Hamilton leaders and legends in my book like Kathleen Klink and Joanne Wallish and Frank Downey and with the assistance of Brandon Sarber on city staff, had this great idea based on the idea of knowing that a more connected Hamilton is a stronger Hamilton. And you had kind of went through my little resume of where I've been, right?
Yeah.
I'm a kid from Nashville, played basketball, moved out to Kansas City for a while, Spokane, Washington, spent a little bit of time in Sydney, Australia, England, Manchester, England, to Phoenix, Arizona, to San Diego, and then Hamilton, Ohio.
Yeah.
One of those doesn't seem to fit. And the biggest question I get from Hamiltonians when they learn a bit of my story is, why?
Yeah.
Why Hamilton? But it kind of goes back to what I find is so interesting about 17 Strong, and on a broader level, the sense of community that exists here. All those other places, those world-renowned cities, sure, it's fun to look at as a tourist, but I think in life, a lot of people can get lost in the size of where they live. In a small place like Hamilton, a little city town like Hamilton with big city vibes, with big city aspirations, there are so many people in Hamilton who have found their niche, they've got in where they fit in, and they've carved out for themselves a role.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to 17 Strong, that's really a big core of what we're all about. You don't have to transform your entire city. We just want you looking out for your one little corner of the city, your one little part of that neighborhood, that little improvement of what you can bring. So, I love all the big, great things, fun things that happen in Hamilton. But for me, what Hamilton really represents is the opportunity to be a someone, to have a role, and to live in a community where collectively you see the fruit of all of your collective efforts.
And it is amazing. You lived in all these other great places, and they are great cities, obviously world renowned. But Hamilton's kind of tugged at your heart more. And it's because maybe you feel like you can make a bigger difference.
That's
a bigger
it.
impact.
That's it. Yeah, it's. I think a lot of us in life are on that constant quest of searching and discovering what is our role.
Yeah.
What is our contribution? How can I help?
Yeah.
And goodness, again, I only thought I'd be here for 6 months. And now it's been about 8 years. And the great thing about Hamilton, that same energy I felt 8 years ago, we're just on the cusp, we're just on the corner, we're just about to have this thing, and then it's going to explode. I still tap into that. I still feel that. I've got city work, I've got work with the arts, but who knows what other big, great things that Hamilton, through the collective work of all of us, is going to keep rising up to, that little bitty David Stark can still play a role in.
Yeah.
How can I contribute? It may not be the biggest pond of all, but we all can feel like big fish around here sometimes.
And it kind of, I've always lived here. I didn't live in all these other cities, but when I became an attorney, I got a job at a kind of a big city law firm, and I thought, that's where I can really make it, become a hotshot lawyer, do a lot of good work, and get big cases. And I did that for a couple years, and then even when I started my own firm, I did it in Cincinnati for a year and a half. I think I was, trying to see if I could do it outside of town, or maybe I thought Hamilton wasn't big enough to, be able to do what I wanted to do as far as growing a practice. But then when I decided, I'm going to come back, it was the best thing I did. And we've been able to expand outside of Hamilton. So we're making an impact here and other small towns around here. But it's funny how you end up, getting pulled back to home. This has always been my home, but it's pulling people in now that it wasn't their home originally, which kind of shows me the city that I might not thought it was as special when I was younger is.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's getting better, and I think you're right. There's just a different vibe now than there was, 20 years ago.
Well, and in terms of that draw for a lot of people who aren't from here, I feel like in my role at ArtSpace as community manager, I get to see that probably about as much as anyone. In this building, in the ArtSpace building, we have 42 units, and we have about 75 resident artists who live here. That's the rules, that's the conditions of this building. We provide housing, affordable housing for artists and their families, and at least one member of every household has to be an artist. Now, you don't have to be a Picasso, you don't have to be a Beyonce, but you do have to have that creative energy that exists within the heart of all artists.
Yeah.
And we can see it. In fact, we screen it. You're juried in to live at ArtSpace in the same way you'd be juried into an art show.
Nice. Who's the judge?
Well, we got a committee. No, we got a committee. I'm not allowed to be on the committee. They don't let me be on the committee.
Okay.
Right? I'm not on the committee. It's actually artists who already live in the building, who have been contributing and participating towards this good work for years. So,
how do people apply?
Well,
I don't know. I know about ArtSpace, but
absolutely. Nowadays, it is tricky. We do have an extensive wait list, and the problem with a building that's experiencing success like ours is you don't have a lot of artists moving out.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of like it sometimes when we have an artist like a Logan Walden or a Melissa Lucid, very accomplished artists in their own right who are sort of using this experience as an incubation experience where they're coming here, they're forming here, they're making a big impact in a small amount of time, and then they move and rise on up to the next thing. Sometimes they can even come back. That said, we have a lot of artists in the building who I call lifers.
Yeah.
They've been at this with us since we opened in 2015, and they're going to be here till the very end, right?
Yeah.
So in this building, we have people. I think this little corner of Hamilton is the most socioeconomical, spiritually, ethnically diverse location in all of Hamilton. We have artists of different ages, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, different belief systems. And really about the only thing in common we do have is the arts.
Yeah.
And you would think in an artist collective that there'd be all these squabbles and quarrels. And really, we don't have any of that. We have artists, we have one common purpose, which is to invite Hamilton into experiencing art for themselves and to provide. We sometimes call ourselves artists in service to the city of Hamilton. So it's our way of giving back. We do art shows, we do concerts, we do fundraisers. Just last month we had a fundraiser called Music with a Cause, in which $2,400 was raised for the Shared Harvest Food Bank. In part due to the generosity of American Legion Post 138, which presented a check for $2,000, right?
Nice.
And all we had to do was get up there and play some music,
Yeah.
right? So we feel like that's our role within the city of Hamilton. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on all this stuff, but we do have to view ourselves as an activator, not only of the arts, but of community itself. So the biggest thing I love about working here at ArtSpace is to see artists along their step in the journey. If we can provide cheap rent for what are some of the coolest lofts in the area,
Yeah.
great. But for a lot of these folks, we're providing opportunity for their art to be showcased and utilized and to see, how they'll expand within what they do in the city. We've got muralists, we've got sculptors who are participating on a larger level than just the Strauss Gallery, but also beyond Hamilton. Where are some of these artists who put their foot down in Hamilton, put their foot down in ArtSpace for a little bit of moment of their life? Well, where are they going? What contribution are they going to make on a national impact?
And what a little change can Hamilton put on their heart as they travel and they carry it on with them in the future?
That's right.
It's a little piece, wherever you live, it's a little piece of you, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
It's interesting when you were talking about 17 Strong before, how, you were calling some of the people who started legends, or like, how you're standing on the shoulders of people before you.
Yeah.
It seems like the art space, what you just described, is amazing, but the start of that started way before, I think, even before the building, because, and I can't give you the date, it was before you lived here. It's been a long time ago. They started calling Hamilton, City of Sculpture or an art city. And I think a lot of people who lived here kind of almost rolled their eyes. It was like, we're just trying to do something to be cool because we're an old, factory town that's people think negatively about in a lot of ways. But, something like this is the progression of that. And I don't know, that might have been 20 or more years ago. You may know. Just it's a long time coming to get to where we are,
Indeed, yeah. Well, one of those legends, at least the legends in my book, I have some of his paintings all over. Rick Jones. Rick Jones, formerly, he was the executive director of the Fitton Center for Creative Arts for some 25 years. A painter himself, owner of Renaissance Fine Art Supplies. Sadly, he just announced his retirement. He's moving out to Arizona. He's going to paint. But he is also one of the big reasons why an art space exists here in Hamilton. Art space projects, there's about 60 of them. They're all over the continental U.S., including Hawaii. We've got Florida. We've got out on the West Coast, East Coast. We're all over. Hamilton is definitely the smallest market town for an art space. But the reason why we've got one here is because as early as the 1980s, Rick toured the original art space and began that conversation. Rick went through mayor after mayor after mayor pitching for this idea.
Yeah.
This is an idea some 30, 40 years in the making. And it took about a decade of actually getting this place to exist as it is, even once the idea itself was warmed up to.
Things don't happen overnight.
Things don't happen overnight.
And it's cool how an idea that long ago is making an impact on people today. And it also kind of gives, I like coming up with ideas. Maybe an idea we have 30 years ago, 30 years in the future, we'll be doing something.
That's right,
It took a lot of persistence, I'm guessing. I didn't know the whole story. I mean, he was pushing for a long time for that.
Pushing for a long time. And look, Hamilton can sometimes, you can hear probably the most negative of all the four-letter words used, and it starts with a G. It's called gentrification. And listen, that's a conversation that needs to be had. It's one we're all having. It's one we're sensitive to. But I think it does speak volumes to the partnership between the city of Hamilton and other agencies and bodies, that smack dab in the middle of downtown Hamilton is a designated apartment building that is meant to be affordable and for artists. So right here in the midst of all of it is space that's being preserved, not just for looking out for those who may need it, but also, as you'd mentioned, it is yet a further validation of the commitment made to making Hamilton a city of the arts. Look, we're a city of big business. We're a city of sports now with Spooky Nooks, but right at our core, we're a city of the arts.
Yeah.
And, to have art space here as part of that experience, we're just happy to play a part.
I mean, I like art. I think everyone likes art in some form or the other. Like, what gets you so, jazzed up about that you wanted to be involved in this?
Oh, well, it looks so pretty.
Yeah.
It just looks so pretty. I mean, I love it. It sets a vibe. It sets a mood. I love the energy that artist brings. Goodness, we've got evidence of cave drawings and friends that go back some 50,000 years, at least, right? I mean, art is something that is intrinsic to the human experience.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of us are artists, but in some ways we're all creatives, right? I mean, to appreciate art, I believe, is to be human. Personally, I can't draw for shit.
Yeah.
All right, I can't do any of that
I
stuff.
can draw a really good dog. I had one of those books in elementary that taught you how to draw with circles.
You got that down?
I draw a dog for my kid. She thinks it's good, but that's all I got.
Well, hey, that's important. No, for me, probably the most artistic thing I do is try to help manage and represent artists, and that can be an art form in itself at times. A big belief of mine. Artists are probably, you're a great negotiator, Josh. I'm sure you do it all the time with insurance companies, but I hate it when people try to browbeat artists into a lower price.
Yes.
They're one group, man, where you don't, pay them what the thing's worth, pay them what it's for. Don't try to browbeat them. So a big passion of mine is making sure that artists in Hamilton get paid.
Yeah.
In part, it's because I appreciate the work that they do. That, and as I said, well, it looks pretty. It makes life a little more interesting and fun. It's a conduit for social change, and it's a reason for bringing people.
Yeah,
thank you very much. You know what? Almost all the art in my apartment is by artists who have shown in the Strauss Gallery.
Nice. As far as like geographic reach, where are people moving? Where are the artists coming from? I mean, all
good
over.
question. Yeah. Goodness, we've had artists. Dayton has proved to be a good market. We do get some from the Dayton art scene. We do get plenty from Cincinnati. Several artists we have who maybe lived in Hamilton when they were young. They went off, they explored the great big world. Maybe they had some success, maybe they had some failure, but then they heard about this art space in their hometown and they want to come back and enjoy it. But that's it. We've had artists who have moved here from places like California, from Nashville, New York. We've had that as well. So really the pool of this, I mean, again, we get applications coming in all the time from all over the country.
Nice.
Some of those are coming from other art spaces.
Okay.
As I said, we've got some 60 art space apartments all over the continental U.S. And the word has gotten out. Not all art spaces are created equally. And the word has gotten out that the Hamilton art space is, not only a beautiful location, but it is one where the artists have a real shot of making a name for themselves by participating. So we do sometimes pull from other art spaces as well.
That's nice. What's on the horizon? The art scene in Hamilton. I mean, more.
Oh my gosh!
And 5 years from now, where are we going to be?
Hey, sky's limited, man. There's no limits to this. We have so many incredible arts leaders in town. I think of Adam Hilms. Some people don't think of Adam Hilms as an art leader.
Yeah,
that guy's been leading us as a destination location with the arts and music and culture scene, with the River's Edge concert series for what is it now? 10 years?
Yeah.
Almost 10 years. They just announced they're getting some updates to their stage and arena area, outdoor amphitheater area. Of course, Ian McKenzie Thurley, the Australian, right? The man who's now the executive director of the Fitness Center. He has led the charge on so many occasions for not only great events at the Fitness Center, but so many initiatives here in towns. If there is a arts roundtable, he's somehow sitting at the head of it, right? We've got Pyramid Hill, Brian Nicely, their new executive director there. That's been around for many years, and they're not skipping a beat. But then on even other levels, we've got Inside Out Studios for artists with developmental disabilities. Those
One of
guys
my
are
favorite
everywhere.
places.
Oh, you've been to their
try
family-friendly
support
grave
it,
before? I think you sponsored that
Yeah,
once,
I
didn't
think
you? Yeah. So that's right. So they do so much fun there. And then we've got, places like the North Second Tap Bottle Shop, a music hall. We've got Pullman Lanes. We've got so many people involved in the arts and culture scene, the Butler Philharmonic. So many different groups involved with the arts in Hamilton that are really living up to that moniker. We're not just a city of sculpture, we're a city of the arts itself. So as long as there is this shared commitment by not only these leaders of certain organizations, but all the many donors and patrons of the arts that are committed to what that represents and what it can do for Hamilton, the sky is the limit for where this town is going to go. I mean, again, the arts oftentimes can lead the charge towards not only social change and community development as well. So, goodness, that one's so hard to answer. Where is it heading? Because it evolves, right? It evolves and changes all the time.
Yeah. You think the word's out more, in the region, more outside of Hamilton of what's going on here? People I know you said we get some artists from Cincinnati and Dayton, but do you think non-artists know like this is maybe a little mini mecca to come for local art?
I think it's growing. I think it's growing. You see the news sometimes, some of the reports that come on the news channels, Hamilton man this, Hamilton man that. It's almost like the new Florida man.
Yeah.
But more and more you hear news stories that come out about all the incredible things that are happening in Hamilton, be it economic development, be it new businesses, be it sports complexes. But a lot of times it is about the art. Again, our friend Ian McKenzie Thurley at the Fitness Center, and almost a week doesn't go by where I don't see him on some news somewhere, not just talking about art, but talking up Hamilton. Recently, I think it was last month, Rodney Veal, the host of the art show that airs on PBS, wrote an article talking about the arts here in Hamilton that appeared in Dayton Daily News.
Oh, nice. I didn't see that.
I think, and he talked it up. He said Hamilton is a must-stop destination. Spend a weekend there in Hamilton and take in all the incredible arts, the murals, the shows, the scenes, all that good stuff. So I think word's getting out. And hopefully word will continue to get out as we continue to do dope shit.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of cool stuff. I think the sky's the limit. And if you'd asked me, to be honest, when I was 16 or 17, 18, maybe you're just negative as a kid, you want to leave your hometown, but I never would have dreamed where we are today, where it would have been possible, honestly. And now I kind of think I can't really, even think of where we couldn't go. I think it's really the sky's the limit.
That's right.
And it takes a little bit of everyone doing everything. Not everyone's going to be involved in art. People are going to be involved in fixing up the roads. But that's an art form in itself, maybe. But
that's right.
it takes a whole community, and I think more and more people are getting involved. And people like you that weren't from here are coming here with energy and bringing in a new set of eyes to things. You don't have that negative connotation some people that were around longer, do sometimes. So.
Yeah, fair enough. And I reckon that must be sort of weird for folks like you who have been here your whole life, who've studied here, who've worked here, developed here, who've built businesses here, to have this influx. I'm certainly not the only one who isn't from here who's trying to get in on the goodness of here.
Yeah.
Does that ever blow your mind, or can you understand why folks like me are wanting to be a part of it now?
Oh, now, yeah, I love it. When you came, you kind of came here at the time it was starting to pick up. I was starting to be more of a believer then too. When in the last 10, 15 years things were changing. I always loved Hamilton. I always wanted to live here. I've lived here my whole life, and I probably would have even if things wouldn't have got better. To be honest, and kind of proud enough to do that. I think some people were proud of Hamilton no matter what, but it wasn't something I probably could have necessarily bragged about what was going on here to someone who lived maybe in Mason or Cincinnati, and now I can. And there's people moving here from towns that I never would have thought they would move here from, and they're loving it. And I think they bring on new energy, and I think sky's just really the limit. I don't know how else to say it. I think we got to keep pushing. Don't get complacent. Try new things, and why can't we be better than anyone else? It doesn't have to be doesn't have to be huge, but just make it cool. And I think it's getting there, and I think every year's been better for probably the last 10 years. I think just keep pushing. People like you helping out. Where do you get the energy to help out on so many things? Why not just chill?
Oh man, it'd be fun to chill.
Yeah.
Again, I think it comes down to the idea, the sense of legacy and the sense of belonging.
Yeah.
You only get to live once, and you want to try to participate and make the world better, sure, but you really can only do that by acting locally. Don't make me out to be a saint. I personally enjoy it. If the opportunities in Hamilton weren't so ripe, I'm sure I would have given up a long time ago. But it pays dividends. It's it's weird. We have a slogan with 17 Strong that we is greater than me. And that's just not something to make you feel good for doing good. It actually pays dividends itself. I mean, we is greater than me is good for business in Hamilton. That sense of looking out for each other, building something up together, emphasizing that we over the sake of the me. Again, I think it's because it's working.
Yeah.
Because we're having these successes. Well, you can't get out now. You can't
Yeah,
jump
you're
ship now.
you're in, yeah.
Well, the question you asked, where's it all going? I don't know. But I want to stick around. I want to see. Hopefully I can participate and be involved in where it's going. So, again, I think that's that lure. There's something special about this moment in time with this community. There's so many of us who are feeling it. We're feeling it,
And this
right?
is like you said, we only live once. This is one of our lives, so we have to make it special. It's going to be a fun ride. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
Wherever it's going, we're here for the ride.
Hey, I'm going to be whipping your ass in golf.
All
I'm
right,
going to be 80 years old.
Hey, man. He's never beaten you for the record. He may. I really appreciate you sitting down here talking to me. Didn't even know what he was going to talk about, but yeah, I think that went pretty good. Onward and upward for both of us, hopefully, and the city we love. And you got the best view in town, I think, maybe out here at the courthouse. I've been on the inside a few times.
I bet you have.
Only for helping people.
Yeah. Well, look, hey, speaking of that, we appreciate the work that you do.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hometown lawyer.
Yeah, that's me. All right, everybody.
That's right.
I appreciate it. That was the first episode, and maybe we'll do another one.
Thank you very much for having me, Josh.
Thank you. That's pretty good.
All right, that was a good conversation. I forgot